Stunned residents of an Oklahoma City suburb are desperately digging through the rubble tonight of what was just hours ago their schools, their hospitals, their homes. A vast tornado touched down this afternoon and destroyed everything in its path. Dozens are dead, many others are still missing. What you're looking at in the center of your screen is a massive storm system as it developed and moved through what's known as Tornado Alley. Twisters touched down in several states from Texas northward, but none as wide or as deadly as the one that hit Moore, an EF4. That's the second highest category. Senior Washington correspondent Neil McDonald has the details for us tonight.
Cleared off. This has turned into a massive
Not only
tornado.
was the tornado that appeared south of Oklahoma City this afternoon freakishly big, more than 2 kilometers wide at its base, it lingered, moving around, systematically pulverizing congested areas with winds reaching more than 300 kilometers an hour. If the damage isn't historic, it's close to it. This survivor could only compare what he'd seen to something created in Hollywood.
Just like on the movie Twister, there's horses and stuff flying everywhere. You know, it's undescribable. I feel pretty lucky.
As is so often the case nowadays, the funnel's birth and subsequent rampage were documented by storm chasers. The flashbulb-like pops around it are electricity transformers exploding on power lines. The ferocity of the event traumatized even journalists with long experience covering such storms.
I've never seen anything like this in my 18 years covering tornadoes here in Oklahoma City. This is, without question, the most horrific I've ever seen.
Okay, Lance, listen, we need to get this information.
The funnel plowed through the thickly populated suburbs south of the state capital. It destroyed 2 elementary schools, trapping students and teachers under the collapsed walls. Several were pulled out. Others escaped ahead of the tornado.
Was it scary?
Yes.
We ran into one of the teachers that was walking down, and she said that Jacob was okay, and the daycare did get hit. Fortunately, we found him, gave him big hugs.
The big Oklahoma tornado was just one of dozens that tore through 5 states today in what's called Tornado Alley, a corridor down the center of the Midwest. Living there, basically, is a never-ending gamble.
Me and my mom were getting ready to leave, and our next-door neighbor told us there's no way that we could survive it, so he told us to come to his house, and we went into his house, into the bathroom, and that's when it just hit. I mean, we could just hear everything.
It's basically just a war zone. There were a couple individuals with lacerations and contusions on their back and the head. We had an individual with a spinal injury.
By early evening, though, it was clear there would be much more than that. The extent of the desolation is staggering. The number of casualties is still unknown. Neil McDonald, CBC News, Washington.
All right, let's bring in our CBC News meteorologist, Claire Martin, now. As Neil says, the extent of the damage is definitely staggering. What's the weather situation right now?
You know what, this evening, Peter, the line continues, but it's losing its intensity just a little bit. Irony of ironies, 2013 was going down as the year of tornado drought. We had so few in number, but that's all changed this evening. Here's the line this evening making its way through, still through the central United States. At one point, watches and warnings were out from Texas all the way up towards Minnesota. I've put the radar back just a little bit so you can see when it made its way right through the Oklahoma area. A storm lingered in that region, and that's why we saw so much damage. Right now, if I tilt the radar just a little bit, you'll actually still see that line. And this gives you a vertical profile of the storm, shows you how deep into the atmosphere they've built. This storm is going to linger for many hours yet. Peter?
All right, Claire, thank you. And Claire will be back a little later. One of Claire's meteorologist colleagues, an American J.D. Rudd, was on the air in Wichita, Kansas, when a huge tornado closed in. Take a look and listen.
Who are no doubt watching us right now as this storm bears down on the city of Wichita.
You know, JD, in 20 years, I've never said this, but I think it's our time to go. At this point, folks, we here at KSN are moving to our shelters. We're leaving the radar image up, but it appears that it is time for all of us to get to shelter. Get to shelter right now. Ryan Newton. Ryan Newton. Now, Ryan. Now. Everybody down below, let's go.
Fortunately, the tornado lifted just before hitting the station, leaving the building intact.